Newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman.
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo, presented by Skyman Premium Cannabis, inspiring people to do better, feel better, look better, just be better humans every day of their lives. And our Wednesday show brought to you by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. No better place to watch a game as college football season begins. And no better place for a date night, frankly, Cask & Company. And might be there with my wife for our anniversary on Friday night. So if we're there.
How many years? 5?
5 years. Pretty remarkable. The odds were against that, and somehow it's happened. So yeah, that's a blessing.
Good for you.
Got a fun show, a good show today, I think. I always say that. And it's weird doing shows 2 days in a row. And also, just to announce it now, we are doing a show tomorrow, too. Right. We are doing our Friday show Thursday this week for some logistical reasons. Jason has to get out of town, mostly. It's usually the Roo's fault when it happens.
Bookie's coming.
Yeah. So
get the passport ready.
We are going to we'll put the Twitter questions up this evening for a Thursday show as well. And so just want to give you a heads up on that. Today we've got Nicole Auerbach from The Athletic on. We're going to talk a little bit about this College Football Alliance, what it might mean for the Big Ten, for schools like Michigan State, why it matters. There's some stuff that I'm going to get into briefly with it before we bring her on. And then we're going to have Harry Gagnon on and go through our picks, his picks, and some college football games in there as well. And my can't-miss parlay, which I'm sure is why everybody's tuning in. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I like 5 Premier League games this week. I almost want to make it a 5-team parlay just to be that arrogant and that lucrative.
So you're saying, so when we do these can go throughout the weekend. Because when I do a parlay, I do it for like tonight for people. Yeah, so I should probably look for weekend stuff as well.
Well, we had to do that for a while because of baseball.
Right.
Because all you have is that night.
Right.
The problem is half our audience doesn't actually listen by the time the games start.
And now that football's back.
Right.
And throw some football.
So, yeah, if you got a baseball game you love, it's worth putting in there. But we'll tweet about, in relative order after the show. And so you at least know, and if it's coming up that night, you're at least aware to play them. Mine right now, I'm this hot on the Premier League, I'm not going to mess with anything else.
Don't blame you. And we have to jump on betting against the Orioles.
Yes, which I did last night live and won. This is beautiful. So last night, they go up 1-0 in the first inning, the Orioles do, or maybe it's the second inning, but it's early. And I look into the line had moved to plus 134. I forget who they were even playing. Washington? Somebody. Who the hell cares?
Baltimore's playing the Angels.
They're playing the Angels, who have screwed us. They were the Angels were the team that screwed us 2 years ago, and we tried to get on Baltimore, and then Baltimore won 8 of 12, including like 4 straight against the Angels. So I'm always careful against the Angels, but I'm like, I look at who the pitcher is. The pitcher for Baltimore is that Watkins kid who was briefly in the Tigers organization, who's just, no offense to the kid, but he's fucking horrendous.
No offense.
And like every time he pitches, it's like a guarantee. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's plus 130. Yeah, I'll take that. Right. And sure enough, I looked. I didn't watch. I didn't really do. 2 innings later, I look. It's 8-1 Angels. I'm like, yep, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is.
The Angels are suspect themselves. I mean, it was 13-8 at one point. I don't know what the final score was, but
no, you can't trust the Angels either.
The Orioles are ass.
Yeah,
you can't, but you can trust them against Baltimore.
Sometimes, at least this year, right. And especially when Watkins is pitching. When Watkins is pitching, I don't care who's out there.
Tigers pitching cast off. That's all you need to hear.
Yeah.
Hammer it.
Was he like a 30th round pick or something? Anyway, I've just seen enough. I've watched the guy enough, and I know what's going to happen. When we get Nicole on, so yesterday was the announcement of this College Football Alliance, and between the Pac-12, ACC, and Big Ten, College Sports Alliance, not just football, and everything that goes into it. And it's basically a reaction to what the SEC is doing. It's trying to keep balance in college athletics and college football specifically, largely for television negotiations, right? That's what this is mostly about. But it's trying to make sure one side doesn't control everything, and if the ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 together create sort of a formidable foe, in those discussions and decisions that are made throughout the sport. And so I like it. I like it out of hand here because ultimately when you look at what happened in the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas not doing what was best for them competitively, but doing what was best for them financially, it makes you scared about what other decisions will be made because the logic is sort of thrown out of it, right? You look at, okay, this doesn't help them get to the playoff. It doesn't help them. What is the reason? Oh, it's money. Once you say it's only money, then what will other schools do? What will drive other decisions in the sport? And that makes me a little nervous for the sport. My biggest concern short term for the Big Ten, the thing I don't like potentially out of this, and the thing where it could is the idea that they're going to lose a conference game in football, and the idea that there could be mid-conference schedule games between like the ACC and Big Ten in basketball, or ACC and Pac-12, or the conferences in basketball. Once you start conference play in basketball, it is unnatural to step out. And let me just give you a reference. 2014, February 1st, I believe the game was, Michigan State, Georgetown at Madison Square Garden. One team could have not been less interested to be there than Michigan State, and they lost that game to a very average Georgetown team. And that was, Keith Appling's wrist. Things weren't going well at that point. Nonetheless, it was like you're through the grind of Big Ten play, and then the showcase games are early. It just feels unnatural. You're a month from March. It's unnatural to the brain. It doesn't work. In football, what I don't like about it is, and I know they used to only play 8 games, but when you now have as many teams where you have 2 7-team divisions, if you're going to keep the divisions, which I think you should do to get to a somewhat legitimate champion, in a conference championship game, you can't have only playing one team from the other side. Otherwise, it would be like before you saw every opponent in your stadium, like decades would go by. It just doesn't work to play one crossover game and then you preserve rivalries or I don't like that. This ought to be able to be done with 9 conference games. I think that's a cool thing that the Big Ten does and other leagues do. I think the SEC is chicken shit for not doing it, and they may move to it now that they have more teams and they're trying to get more. Who knows where they'll go with this, but that's the side from the Big Ten I'm a little nervous about.
Yeah, I'm just nervous about the scheduling. I just can't figure out how they're going to do this going forward. Like you said, I mean, if they're going to get rid of a conference game and to add what, right? I mean, like, I just don't understand how this whole scheduling thing is going to work, because you have contracts with some of these teams, right? Are we not talking about non-conference games? Obviously, we're not talking about getting rid of any of those.
No, yeah, that's what I'm talking. We're talking about you'd have 4 non-conference games, but because some of them more would be against ACC, Pac-12, or Pac-12 teams, you would need more slots available. Okay. To me, you can do what you're doing now, and you can play every year an ACC and a Pac-12 team if you want, and just make sure the other team. Now, there's some contracts pushed out that you're going to have to go through and deal with, but you can largely do this.
What about the Big 12? What are they going to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've sort of said there's too much uncertainty, and I don't think the other thing is the Big Ten doesn't care. I mean, this is about TV money, and so I don't think it's about purely, but about academics really all that much. But the ACC, Pac-12, and Big Ten are much more in line than the other 2 leagues when it comes to academic institutions. And I think that going to bring in an Oklahoma State or a Kansas State is a bit of a stretch. And so, again, there's uncertainty. What are those leagues going to do? I think that's going to be fascinating. We'll ask Nicole about that stuff, because I'm curious what she thinks. I mean, she's been at the forefront of a lot of this coverage. She's a national college football writer for The Athletic, previously at USA Today, and that's where I got to know her, when she was sort of in our company. But that's my concern for the Big Ten, that this screws up some things that just make a farce of the Big Ten schedule. Like, I'm still a Big Ten guy. I grew up here. I like the Big Ten season. The Big Ten standings mean something to me. I love the idea that the college football playoff is going to get to a point where if 12 teams, where the Big Ten championship and other league championships really matter and get you an auto bid, because I think it helps conferences. I love that. I mean, I grew up in the day where, the world revolved around the Big Ten, and everybody's world was a little smaller, right? We didn't have social media. think about these things.
The good old days.
The good old days. All right, we're going to take a really fast break, and I promise, fast break. And when we come back, we'll have Nicole Auerbach from The Athletic, and we'll get into this some more. Couch on the Roof, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Front 43 and Cask & Company.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen, Bar, or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with one awesome blended modern American-Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Skymint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Skymint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Skymint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Skymint Cannabis. You'll love this place.
Find Couch and the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
All right, Couch in the Roof, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, and our Wednesday show brought to you by Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar just north of Frandor on East Saginaw in Lansing. Very pleased now to have really somebody who's been one of the leading voices in everything that's going on in college athletics, somebody I consider a friend and colleague, Nicole Auerbach, senior college football writer from The Athletic. Nicole, and also, I should say, noted Ted Lasso aficionado, which is big, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Nicole, how you doing?
I am doing well, hanging in there. Can't believe we are actually going to get real football. There's been so much off the field. So, yeah, just excited for that, too, coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I have to imagine for you, because your world, when all the stories are off the field, is semi-crazy. There must be a little more, I don't want to say predictability, but does your life get better when the season starts?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I guess there will be a little bit more of a rhythm to the week because right now everything's just been popping at all different hours and all different days of the week. But, you know, I think we'll see how this goes because I think some of the issues about college football playoff expansion and really what the alliance decides to dive into, those are going to be things that are going to, you know, pop up during the season as well.
So that's what I want to get into first here, and you've got a good piece, a really good explainer piece on The Athletic today. ACC, Big Ten, Pac-12 are publicly committed to each other, so what's next for the alliance? And, it talks about, I mean, obviously there's television money that's involved. And I think there's another important thing that you talk about, the idea of checks and balances within the sport that stops one league or one group of schools from sort of taking over and having control of everything. What has been, I guess, for you, if you had to break down what we're looking at right now, how would you present that to somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is there, you know, a variety of responses to yesterday's announcement, and some people who, you know, wanted it to go further and be more contractual and include more specific details about scheduling. And then, you know, in conversations with a lot of people, like, they expected this to be pretty broad because it's really early in the process. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma blindsided all of college sports, and everyone's been trying to figure out how to react. And these are 3 new commissioners. They don't know each other all that well, and they've been in constant communication. And so I think to them it was important to be out there publicly saying, like, hey, we're on the same side, drawing the line in the sand and saying, like, these are the things we stand for and are going to work together on. You know, again, I think the legislative idea of a voting block is really important. You got 41 schools represented, and obviously 3 commissioners in that college football playoff, board of managers room. But it's basically, you know, drawing that line in the sand, saying, we believe we're on this side, the SEC, we believe the SEC is on the other. And so it's about a united front, strength in numbers, to push back on there's this perception that the SEC and the aggression that they've had in the last year is something that has been going on unchecked. And so I think that they wanted to make it clear that they're working together, put that out there, just let everyone know, and also just kind of give some of their talking points about what they want to preserve with the collegiate model that, the insinuation would be that the SEC does not.
Yeah, I mean, I found what was amazing about the SEC move initially was that I didn't think for Oklahoma or Texas, moving to the SEC helped them competitively. It didn't improve their playoff chances. Certainly Oklahoma's had this great path through the Big 12. And so I think that's one of the reasons it catches everybody's eye. These decisions are being made for probably financial reasons, right? And okay, if that's the primary driver, and it often is, I understand, in college athletics, but what else could happen? I mean, is your sense that really rattled people who weren't expecting that, and people thought we had found ourselves falling in a place where we were a little more settled?
Yeah, I think in general, yeah. I think that, you had that quote from Bob Bowlesby the week before the Texas and Oklahoma news broke that said that realignment felt like it was on the back burner, right? Like he felt like things were really stable. I think a lot of people felt that a 12-team playoff proposal would ensure that, right? Because now all of those power conferences had access, their teams were going to make it every year. It was going to just be like less people disgruntled about stuff like that. And so this definitely does blow it up. And again, the SEC, their defense is Texas and Oklahoma came to us. If they went to the Big Ten, if they went to the ACC, they'd take them to, we can't be painted, as the aggressor or the only bad guy. But it's on the heels of being part of playoff expansion and presenting that as something that's better for the sport as a whole and not just out for the SEC. And now we're like, oh, well, you're going to get a lot of at-large teams, and you had information that other people working on that proposal didn't at the time. And that creates the consternation. That creates the issues of distrust and thinking about Greg Sankey and Bob Bowlesby working together on playoff stuff in a room together over a period of time where Greg Sankey knew that he might get Texas and Oklahoma, right? So that's where, like, all of the suddenness of it, the taking everyone by surprise, everyone in the Big 12 being blindsided, and then not knowing how far along it was when they were caught up. I think that's where a lot of the instability is coming from. And so when you have these three commissioners coming together and saying, like, we're trying to stabilize this, and essentially saying, like, we're not going to try to poach each other's schools and, like, set off more of a domino effect and more of a chain reaction here of, fear and everyone's worrying about being left out and the, survival of their schools. They're saying, like, everyone kind of chill out for a second. Like, we can have some of the benefits of conference expansion, like getting into new markets and recruiting areas, without having to blow this whole thing up, do full members, and make this like a really aggressive period in college sports. So I think it's possible, especially if the Big 12 holds Texas and Oklahoma to that 2025, exit. I do think it's possible that things stabilize here for a little bit because, the way that this is all unfolding, it sort of implies and pushes these 8 remaining schools in the Big 12 to stay together, possibly add from the group of 5 ranks. That is still kind of as stable as we could possibly be coming out of the Texas and Oklahoma departure.
Is the 12-team playoff, you think, slowed down tremendously because of this?
Yeah, it is. And I think that there's two areas that, I've been trying to separate when I've talked about the playoff. One is the model itself, support for the 12-team model, specifically the way that it's structured, where the games are played, things like that, which I still think there's general support for that. But you have heard people, especially George Kliavkoff from the Pac-12, pointing out that these 3 conferences were not involved in that working group, so they didn't have a say in the crafting of the proposal. Maybe they would prefer 8, maybe they would prefer 6, whatever that might look like. So I do suppose that it's possible, you go all the way back to the drawing board. But, I think the parallel track here is the timeline. And that's what's most pressing and the most interesting piece to me. Because, again, I think a 12-team model benefits the Big Ten. There's lots to like, even if there's some stuff at the margins, which is Kliavkoff is saying, about maybe where the games are played. Maybe there's some games in the north or, whatever that looks like. But I think the timeline is something that these leagues can tangibly come together and prevent and change. And if they are able to, there's a meeting of the board of managers for the CFP at the end of September, and they could come together and be like, we can't do this until the end of the contract with ESPN. We want other media partners to get involved in the bidding. We want other media partners to be involved in broadcasting games. There's so many more games and rounds, and then you create investment from those companies in college football. I think there is a concern, especially throughout the Big Ten and the Pac-12, which, by the way, have financial relationships with Fox, but there's a concern that ESPN just had a massive deal with the SEC. If they were to renegotiate an expanded playoff during their exclusivity window, they would essentially be running the most powerful conference in college sports and the playoff. They already own a bunch of the bowls. Is that too much influence? Is that too much power? Is that too much dictating how things work for one sport? So I think that is something that we'll be able to see, again, pretty soon if this alliance, has some teeth to it. If they are able to come together and delay playoff expansion and run out the length of the contract, maybe look at the model and tweak some things about, the input that they didn't have on the proposal itself in the first place, but delaying it to get other people involved and to take it to the market and actually have a bidding war and probably make more money that way too.
And so in that case, it would be 2026, right, for the contract. That would be the earliest if they can hold off that long. From a practical standpoint with the Big Ten, ACC, and Pac-12, in terms of what fans will notice, and obviously the scheduling partnerships here and there, the one that I think gets brought up that, does the Big Ten stay at a 9-game schedule and things like that, which would impact. Does it impact how the divisions are structured? And there's a lot of things to wonder about there. The idea in college basketball, are there mid-conference season games between these leagues? What's your sense on what you think this will look like practically for the fan watching?
Yeah, I think the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are going to have to consider dropping down to 8 conference games. There's just so few Saturdays that are available for scheduling. This is part of the reason that scheduling gets planned so far out. And I also think that with some of the teams, I know Michigan, for example, they're kind of booked up, right, in the short term. So if you want to add some of these games sooner than 5 years from now, you probably are going to need to drop a conference game and adjust conference schedules to open up a Saturday anyway. So I think that's something that they're going to have to consider. And, George Kliavkoff was saying that, they're contractually tied to 9 through the length of their deal, which is up in a couple years. But he felt you could go to your partners and say these games are just as attractive because they're Power 5 opponents. And, maybe they're more nationally attractive even. So I think that stuff is up in the air. Kevin Warren said that they're going to have to figure that out in the coming months as well. So I think that would make a lot of sense to me. I don't think it would be mid-season stuff, although I did really, I personally loved the idea of the Big Ten Champions League. And I know other leagues kind of played around with stuff like that as well. I think that would be pretty cool to do a challenge essentially at the end of the season. Obviously, the Big Ten ACC basketball challenges are pretty early in the year. That's the most natural, you would think, for football would be the early non-conference play. But I think you could have some fun with it. There's 11 ADs in the 3 conferences on a group looking at this and starting to play around with it. And I think it would be pretty interesting. I also think it's an interesting question of, do you play one of these games against an ACC team or a Pac-12 team, or do you think about adding 2 and playing both? Really kind of, again, it's harder because it takes up more of your schedule and the part that you can't control. But wouldn't that be pretty cool for a 3-league alliance to actually be playing both of the other leagues every single year?
No, I'm very curious where it goes. I'm a little skeptical on how you keep any sort of, if you've got the divisions with 7 teams, playing just 8 games gets tricky in terms of keeping a legitimate champion. But they're going to have to do something.
At that point, though, I think, I've always been a proponent of getting rid of divisions. I think you just have your 2 best teams play. So maybe you look at pods, maybe you look at rotations and some other stuff, which I think, I kind of think other leagues are going to have to look at that anyway. The SEC is going to have to, 16 teams.
Right.
They're going to have to look at pods. So I do think you're going to have to play around with all of that because they all kind of go together.
All right, I want to take a sharp right turn to Ted Lasso here, which is quickly become my favorite show, and I can't get my co-host Jason to watch it yet. He's not a soccer guy, and he laments my love for a lot of romantic comedies as well. But so that's why obviously Ted Lasso just fits everything about me, and my sense is you love this show. What do you think the to me, first of all, like it's the opposite of the show Succession. I don't know if you watch that, but like these are all good people, and the good things happen to people, and you just kind of know that's going to happen. And I love stories that wind up that way. But the characters are also, I mean, like Roy Keane to me is one of the more interesting and developed characters in television right now, I think. What is it about Ted Lasso you love?
Yeah, I mean, I will say I did not come into it a soccer person whatsoever, and I think that I've had to convince friends who are not sports people that it's not about soccer, because it isn't. But I think it's just, a lot of people say it's heartwarming, and I mean, it certainly is at times, and like I think the idea of responding to things without cynicism or accepting apologies and like moving on from that are really like healthy things to see on television. And I know that the writers have talked about like pushing back on like toxic masculinity, especially in like locker room settings and sports settings a lot as they were creating the show. And just really having like healthy relationships of like male friendship and different things. So I think all of that is super refreshing in this era of TV where like they're all anti-heroes and like we all hate the lead characters, but we keep watching. So I think that stands out. And then I would say in season 2, I think they've gotten a lot deeper on a lot of different characters and not just Ted. And I think it's also, and we'll see, because I've seen a couple screeners for a couple more episodes that are coming. Like they allow people not to be happy and goofy and like that all the time and actually start to like wrestle with some issues. And I think we've seen that with Roy Kent in this season about wrestling with the idea of retirement, which we've all talked to former athletes about just how hard that period is. And I think they just do such a really great job of letting their characters, just grow in front of us and work through things. And they don't just, blow up the scenes or the plots. And they're all interconnected. And so I could talk about the show all day because I love it so much. But I just think, there's a scene in season 1 where like, a couple scenes where it's like it teaches you how to apologize and how to accept an apology. And I can't remember the last time I saw a great apology and acceptance of an apology on TV. Like it was such a minor thing, but it was perfect. And I was like, this actually maybe will help people in their everyday lives about like apologizing for things.
No, I think there are those moments because first of all, we do apologies horrible. I mean, we see them in public life all the time right now. It's one of the things we do worst, I think, is that as well. And also, am I the only person who really wants Rebecca and Ted Lasso, the team owner and Ted Lasso, to get together? Like there's a part of me, and I'm a few episodes behind you because I don't have the special access. I'm like episode 5, and it looks like there's a random sort of Tinder text happening between them. And I don't know. That's to me, that's just the love story that I strangely want.
Well, I feel like they definitely towards the end of season 1 too, like a will they, won't they?
Yeah.
But like the writers created a 3-season arc here, so I'm kind of in the back of my mind every time I get excited about it. I'm like, no, if they're going to get together, they're going to get together in season 3. Like that's just when it's going to be. But they have great chemistry, and that's what like also is really good because I mean Keely's dated multiple characters on the show with great chemistry with all of them. Like. So I feel like that's something that's super compelling, and they balance each other so well. So you're not alone. I also have the same feeling, but I'm trying to hold off on getting too excited about it because it feels like it would be like an end of the series run type of getting together.
Yeah, and once people get together, once that sort of will they won't they is gone, sometimes it's hard for shows to really flourish. That is Nicole Auerbach, excellent writer and reporter from The Athletic, and I think everybody who listens knows how I feel about The Athletic and the work they do. Nicole, I look forward to hopefully seeing you in an actual press box this year.
Yes, hopefully. I can't wait to see actual football in person, and thanks for having me.
Have a good day. Take care. Are you on to Ted Lasso now, Jason?
I don't know. That wasn't a good selling point. The male characters get They get along and they don't bust each other's balls.
You'd like Roy Kent.
I understand. I will give it a shot as soon as we figure out Apple TV.
Okay.
But yeah, that I don't know. I just feel like it's a woke express waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Like you guys like that kind of shit. I understand. It might still be good, but I'm used to like Eastbound and Down and Kenny Powers.
Which is a great
my
show.
Yeah. No, but it would never be. There was no chance Kenny Powers, like Eastbound and Down, would be able to happen today.
I think you'll like Ted Lasso. That's my selling point. I promise I won't do a Ted Lasso segment every week, but I
gave out spoiler alerts. So
yeah. But it's worth watching. It's absolutely fantastic. All right, do we want to? First of all, is there anything out of that you thought was interesting in terms of like
just how passionate you guys were about Ted Lasso?
I'm talking about the college football discussion.
It was interesting that Nicole was talking about the Big Ten, like getting rid of the East and the West and just taking the two best teams from the Big Ten and have a championship that way. I don't know if like old school guys would be opposed to that. I kind of like that idea. That way you have two of the best teams playing at the end of the year.
My only issue is that you truly wind up with very unbalanced schedules. Like at least when you have conference champions, everybody, and it's somewhat unbalanced because you have different teams in your crossover games. But when you have the one thing about divisions is you've played everybody in the division. The other teams have played everybody in the division. But you're right, and I can't remember one year when I was covering the MAC. By the way, when I covered Western Michigan, they did something with the divisions where only division games mattered to getting to the MAC championship. I can't remember the exact specifics, but it was weighted like that, and I didn't actually like that either because it took the importance out of the other games. It's an interesting conversation. I think people who focus on scheduling and people like Kevin Pauga, who maybe we ought to have on at some point at Michigan State because he's the type of person to be involved in this and sort of setting up what this all looks like. But it's a fascinating time. I do think she's right on the playoff. The playoff, we're looking at 2026 now being expanded because the Pac-12 and the Big Ten do not want ESPN to get a free run at this. They don't want their partners not to be motivated to be part of the conversation, which is Fox. And so I think you're going to see them try and hold out with the alliance. Now, the ACC is with ESPN, I believe, so that's a whole different discussion. We'll see how strong this alliance is. Right now, it's just a handshake. All right, do we want to take a break or go straight to Harry? What do you want to do?
No, we got Harry.
We got Harry right now?
Yep.
Sweet.
Also, he gave me some of his golf picks late. He apologized via text, but he was right. Tony Finau.
Oh, man.
Congratulations, Harry. Finally getting one.
Finally, guys.
All right, Harry Gagnon, of course, from the Against All Odds podcast, BetSpecCorner.com and ExtraPoints.com. Harry, you're a beautiful soul, and we are always glad to have your knowledge on here. And by the way, my three-team parlay hit last week, and I've gotten so arrogant that now I have a five-teamer this week. That I have 5 games I like. I don't know exactly which way I'm going to go with the 3, but I have 5 games that I truly love this weekend.
You would think he'd act like he'd been there before, Harry.
Well, I did text Jason Graham that your Manchester City won like 5-0, right?
Yeah, I forget. Yeah,
something like that, 5-0. I said, Jay, looks good for Graham. He's like, he'll lose.
I did not say that. I just said soccer. I said soccer. Soccer's right. Ass is what I said. I can't do it.
Right.
I'm happy for Graham.
Equal that, but I don't know.
All right, so let's before we get into that, and there are actually college football games this weekend too that we can maybe touch on. Although the first week of college football is tough, and next week we'll start getting into our weekly picks and all that stuff as we go through an actual slate of games, which I'm pretty excited to do. But the things that Harry likes most, you like the Angels tonight, minus 210 against Baltimore. Last night, I jumped on the live line as soon as Baltimore scored, and this was a great play. And you like the Brewers minus 190 against the Reds tonight, and the under in the Dodgers San Diego game under 8 at minus 20. What do you like about these games?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, how can you not like the Angels? Tani's on the mound. He's been fantastic. 8-1, 2.79 ERA, and the Orioles are going for 20 losses in a row. By the way, like if you're like that was a nice job by you two, Graham, jumping on. But like another thing here, 18 of the 19 games you could have taken the run line against the Orioles minus the 1.5. 18 of 19. they've lost by 2 or more. That's insane. So, Angels with Ohtani on the mound tonight. Plus batting, he's got 40 home runs and 88 RBIs. They just too much for the Orioles. I like the Brewers with Brandon Woodruff on the mound at -190. Luis Casillas going for the Reds. He's given up 12 earned runs in his last 17 innings. Woodruff had a bad outing last game against the Cards, but I think he bounces back and gets the win tonight. And also, the Dodgers-Padres under 8. Walker Buehler's been fantastic, especially on the road, 5-0 with a 2.07 ERA. And away from home, batting average teams against Walker Buehler batting 130. And Blake Snell, in his last start against the Dodgers, went 5 innings, 0 earned runs. So, and in his last 22 innings, he's been good too, just 6 earned runs. So I'm going to go Dodgers-Padres under 8, Angels -210, and the Brewers -190. Might want to put that in a little 3-team parlay.
That does sound nice. Sounds really good, especially with those kind of odds. So do the Angels -1.5. I mean, as always, as you just pointed out, those numbers against the Orioles. And here's the thing: at some point, the Orioles are going to break that streak, and you've got to be willing to take that loss, right, and then stay back on it, because it's not like they're going to get better. You take the loss. I mean, at some point, the baseball gods are going to shine on them, and they're going to win a game. Probably not going to happen when Watkins is pitching like he was last night, but you got to be willing to take that loss. Okay, you've got some NFC South season win over-unders that you really like, and I find these interesting. Tampa over 11.5 for the season wins. Atlanta over 7.5. Carolina under 7.5. Saints under 9. Explain yourself, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa, again, they're loaded. They re-signed everybody. They got Fournette re-signed, who may really, if you look at all the playoff games last year, he really could have been their MVP throughout the playoff run that they did to win the Super Bowl. I love Ronald Jones back in the backfield, too. I think he's going to have a big year. Defensively, Levante David and Devin White are unbelievable linebackers, probably the best 2 in the league on the team. They combined last year, guys, for 257 tackles. Barrett, too, still there. 27.5 sacks the last 2 seasons. Brady's he's got weapons all over the place. He's got Antonio Brown now for a whole year. Love Tampa over 11.5. Atlanta, I like over 7.5 too. I know the question mark when it comes to their running game, but I think now, maybe with the release and trade of Julio Jones, that might be a good thing for Atlanta. Ryan's not always going to have to make sure that Julio Jones gets his passes. I think this opens up a lot for Calvin Ridley to have a huge season, and of course the first-round pick, Pitts out of Florida, is going to be a monster. I think immediately he pays dividends, and I think him and Ridley go for 2,500 yards. Matt Ryan has a resurgence, and Atlanta, not that bad. I mean, they were bad last year, but not as bad as the record looked. They lost 8 games last year, 7 points or less. I like Atlanta to win 8 or 9 this season. Carolina under 7.5. I'm just listen. If you got anyone out there who listens against all odds, they know him. I despise Sam Darnold. I just think he's an awful quarterback. I think it's a terrible decision. I don't think he can read defenses. And I think they're going to struggle. And I think because he's going to struggle, I think that hurts McCaffrey's running attack. Plus, McCaffrey didn't even play, a quarter of the season last year with his injury, so that you got to look out for that. And plus, Carolina, check this out. Last 9 games for Carolina. I mean, this is a killer schedule. New England, Arizona, Washington, Miami, Atlanta, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Tampa Bay. I just don't think Carolina's going to be able to survive. I think Darnold's not going to be able to survive the season, and McCaffrey is going to he's going to suffer too. And also, New Orleans under 9 wins. I know it looked like Winston maybe won the job here. I think he probably should, but still, remember he threw 30 picks in his last real season with Tampa Bay. They have Emmanuel Sanders anymore. They got a lot of no-name receivers. Defensively, they're pretty good, but the top 2 leading tacklers, DeMario Davis and Malcolm Jenkins, return. They're 32 and 34-year-olds respectively. I just don't know if this is maybe a situation too where the quarterback situation takes a hit and Kamara takes a hit too, because there's nobody else going out there getting yards, especially with Michael Thomas being out. I think New Orleans really has a setback here and goes under 9.
And you also like Gronk over 457 yards, 475 yards. Yep.
Yeah, I do, because look, I mean, he's 32 years old, but look, who would have guessed last year that he would have played in every game? He played in every game. Like you just mentioned, Graham, the total's 475.5 yards receiving yards. He had 623 last year on 45 catches. And listen, the numbers don't lie. He's played 10 seasons. This is his 11th season. All 10 seasons, he had 540 yards or more. I'm going over 475. I know O.J. Howard is back from injury last year, but since O.J. Howard's been in the league, he's really underachieved. I still think it's Gronk as the number one tight end here in Tampa Bay, and I think Tampa Bay flourishes. Gronk is perfect, and he goes over 475 yards.
You're a beautiful man, Harry. That's a lot of good intel. Do you like this week? There's one college football game I like, and it's Illinois at home getting 7. And like, I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, I have any. I mean, we get college football wrong so much in the early part of the year, and I don't think Nebraska is going to be great. Where I am intrigued is it's a full touchdown for the home team, and I also kind of like the money line plus 214. Like, again, I think there's enough. Perhaps these teams aren't as different as people think that I'm not sure Illinois doesn't win this game. Do you like that line at all?
Oof, boy. 6.5 on the road from Nebraska, huh?
Yeah. The hesitation tells me to stay away, and that's enough for me.
I don't love it. Right? Yeah, I've been looking at the Hawaii UCLA over 68.5. I'm leaning towards that a little bit, but boy, and Nebraska. I mean, it's tough because you got Nebraska at Illinois. It's a conference game right off the bat.
And you just don't know what either team. I mean, here's the thing: I've lost more money in college football in week 1 than any other week because I get so excited about it, and I don't know shit. And like I think I know stuff, but I don't know stuff. I don't know, Jason. Do you like that Nebraska Illinois line?
I would stay away from that game.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's transition here to our now legendary can't miss 3-team parlays. Jason, what do you have here? We need Harry to judge. Graham coming off a win. Jason, of course, a loss.
You just went third person? Jesus Christ, this guy wins one parlay. He wins
Jason,
one parlay.
Who does he think he is? Me?
Yeah, exactly. Not Harry. All right. Now we talked about the Angels, right? Shohei Ohtani against the terrible Orioles. And what do we say when we see an obvious kind of thing? It's a stay away. I'm not doing that tonight. I'm giving minus 2.5 Angels. I'm taking the Angels minus 2.5 at even money.
Okay.
And then I'm taking Tampa Bay, who's playing at Philly, plus 1.5 at minus 175. Now I'm saying
Bay plus 1.5.
I'm telling people keep the Angels minus 2.5, the run line in your parlay. You don't have to keep all 4 of these. You can interchange. All right, then Blue Jays, your guy, Robbie Ray, on the mound tonight. Money line, minus 125 against the White Sox. I hate this series. I haven't been right on one game in the series so far. Anyway, but your boy Robbie Ray's on the mound.
Okay.
Red Sox, money line, minus 155. They're at home playing the Twins at minus 155 for a total of plus 830.
If you do all 4.
All 4.
Okay.
All 4-teamer.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't have to do the 4-teamer. Keep the Angels in if you want to change in, change out. They always tell you to just do 3, never do 4. But I'm saying I'm feeling comfy with 4.
The 4th usually screws you.
It sure does.
Okay. So there are 5 games that I love in the Premier League this week, and I'm not going to leave the Premier League just because we don't have a full slate of football yet, and you don't win and then step away when you're. And I think I'm like the other thing is I think I'm like 8 of 9 on the year. I won on West Ham on Monday. Right now it's a hot streak, and eventually it ends. I mean, Harry, you went on a hot streak this year. What do you win, like 24 straight bets at one point or something like that? That was incredible.
18 to 21 or something.
It was so much fun. Yeah, you don't walk away while you're winning. All right, so the 5 games I love. I love Chelsea as a pick 'em at Liverpool. Liverpool's a decent team, but the home road usually matters a ton in Premier League. I love this Chelsea team. I think they might be the best team in the Premier League. Plus 106 on the as a pick 'em. So take the pick 'em so you can actually, if they tie, Chelsea over Liverpool at Liverpool, and you don't lose if they tie. It just decreases the parlay down to 2. West Ham minus 1 at home against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is awful. West Ham's not a bad side, and then minus 1 again. The beauty of a minus 1 thing is if they just win 1-0, it just lessens your parlay. It's a push on that particular part of the bet. I really like West Ham there. Man City minus 1.5. Is it minus 140 is the juice for that at home against an Arsenal team that I do not think is very good. Again, Man City at home.
-1.5 though, huh?
Yeah, no, I like it.
Okay.
Now, they're not actually in the 3-team parlay I'm going to give you, though. Leicester City -121 at Norwich, who's awful. I think Leicester City got a raw deal with the red card at West Ham on Monday. And Man U -130 at Wolverhampton, which has a lot of talent but just cannot score. And so I like Man U there. The parlay that I'm giving out, the 3-teamer.
We're not at the parlay yet?
That was 5 teams. So those are the 5 I like. I would urge everybody to bet all 5 individually. The 3 I'm going to give and be held to. And if this, I think.
By the way, Graham, all those games are Saturday?
One is Sunday.
Okay.
So there's 4 Saturday and 1 Sunday, I believe. Chelsea-Liverpool. I really like this Chelsea team. And until they lose and don't look great, I'm gonna go with Chelsea. And you give me a pick 'em with them at +106. I like it a lot. The money line's +181. So if you really think they're going to win, that's a way to play it. But I like the 106 in the parlay. West Ham over Crystal Palace -1. I really like a lot. And also on Saturday, and these are all Saturday, Leicester City -121 at Norwich, and that pays +630 for those 3 teams. So I will tweet these out if I would. The lines aren't going to change that much. I would urge people to hold off until you get closer to the weekend. As I read more about these things, if I like one of the other 2 more, I may give it. But those are the 3. That's my parlay as of Wednesday. I hope Dominic stopped listening too early last time and when I was still fumbling around. But I don't know. So Harry, where are you at? What do you like?
All right. Well, let's go with yours first, Graham. Here, Chelsea, a pick against Liverpool. Chelsea's coming off a 2-0 win against Arsenal on Sunday. Interesting there. I kind of like that too. Liverpool lately has been up and down, actually more down than up in the last 6 months of playing. The West Ham -1. Yeah, maybe on Monday they caught a break. I caught a little bit of that match against Leicester City, getting the red card early late in the first half. Allowed West Ham to unload in the second half with 3 goals. West Ham put up 4. I'm a West Ham fan too, so I'm definitely leaning towards West Ham -1. And Leicester City, like you said, Norwich is just awful. They have no defense. Very interesting, and I really do like that parlay. I'm just a little not positive about Liverpool and Chelsea over Liverpool, just because Liverpool's home. Who knows with them sometimes? They're very shaky. So, but still, I like those 3. Let's see here. Now we're going to go to the 4-teamer. The 4-teamer by Jason.
Jason was asleep here listening to the soccer analysis, by the way. He's back.
Football's back. Not soccer. Okay, yeah.
All right, the Angels -2.5. It is very hard to argue for anything for the Orioles, as we discussed. So I can't, and Ohtani's on the mound. I can't argue with that. Robbie Ray pitched a great game last outing. They gave up the game late, which really sucked because I had that too, and that was my play of the day on Extra Points, my video. But I'm leaning towards Robbie Ray here in this spot too. Tampa +1.5. We all have teams, guys, that just really no matter if we could bet them or go against them, we always lose. And Tampa Bay Rays are my team. That's just what happens to me.
Philly's bullpen, though. I'm just saying.
I know, man. I know, but also, and that makes sense. And Wheeler hasn't been good lately. I had him last week, and he wasn't good. He got rocked. So I'll definitely consider that. And Tampa Bay is just, obviously, 76-48. It's hard to argue not taking them, especially with the 1.5. But Yarborough's ERA is kind of high, a little over 4.5. So hold on that one for a second. And the Red Sox, boy, I'll tell you what. Lately, the Twins, I can't get the Twins right either. But Red Sox should get this done at home. I really like 3 out of 4 out of Jason's, and I really like. You know what, Graham? You're the hot guy right now. I'm going to go with you in your soccer picks. I like them. I'm going to play it.
Right up into my rectum, and it was painful. I love it.
Don't know about the Twins. The Twins could shock, and also the Rays just screw me all the time. But I'm on Graham's 3-team soccer this week.
And here's what I'll say: baseball is harder to get in a part. Like baseball is more unpredictable as a sport than soccer in some ways. If you can get a right mismatch in soccer, in other words, if you get a really bad team against a good team, and I'm not talking the Orioles, but I'm talking a bad team versus a good baseball team. The bad team is still going to win 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
Norwich is not going to beat a really good Premier League team 1 out of 3 times. That's not going to happen. So in soccer, the variable is less, and I think that's the advantage here.
And you figure also maybe, Leicester losing 4-1 on Monday,
They're
but
gonna
they
be
got
pissed.
kind of screwed with the card. They come back strong against Norwich and pound them early.
No, I like that. I like that, unless they're despondent.
Harry, before we get out of here, you had some BMW picks now that you're a Finau guy.
Yeah, well,
Tournament.
not really. I got fortunate. I had them at 50-1 this past week, which was really nice at the Northern Trust. This week, there's the BMW. It's being played in Maryland, so it's tough to call because they changed the course around so it's not really. You really can't go on past history here. But what I am going to do is I really like Colin Morikawa. You can get him at 20-1. You can get him at 29-1 to be the first round leader. And if you want top 10 on FanDuel, you get plus 185. Look, he didn't play well last week. He missed the cut, but he's third in the world, 6th in the FedEx Cup standings. And he won the British a couple weeks ago. I know after he got cut from the Northern Trust, like I said, and 26th at the St. Jude before that. But before that, 6 straight top 15, including like I said, won the British Open, finished 4th at the U.S. Open. I expect him to bounce back, have a big tournament here. I like Colin Morikawa. Whatever odds you can get him at, grab it now because I think he's going to be there on the end of at the top of the leaderboard when it's all said and done.
Harry, you are a beautiful, beautiful man, and I'm so looking forward to next week and football talk.
Can't wait.
Have a great week, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Harry.
Let's hit something. Thanks, guys.
We appreciate Harry and also Nicole Auerbach from The Athletic. Read her work there. Terrific stuff. And appreciate Skymint, of course. Go to skymint.com for location information. 3 in the greater Lansing area. Use the Couch in the Rube promo code Couch in Rube 20. And also, Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. Date night, place to watch a game. These are your spots. 2 adjoining restaurants. Outstanding setup. I will tweet out the can't miss parlays. And also, we will have our Twitter question show on Thursday. Groovy Donut Twitter questions. I'll tweet that question thing out tonight, so be prepared for that. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Rube.